by Department of Physics, Marianus College, Thiruvananthapuram. I am Dr. Gigi S.D., Assistant Professor in the Department of Physics, Marianus College, Thiruvananthapuram. Before we get started, kindly mute your mic and videos. If you have any queries during the presentation, please type them into the chat box. The queries will be consolidated and will be attended by the speaker at the end of the session. A feedback form will be shared through registered email ID at the end of the session. Kindly fill and submit them back as early as possible. Today is the third and the final day of this international webinar. We are honored to get eminent speakers on all the 3 days of this international program. We had Professor Dr. Rajan Jose from Malaysia, Dr. Vinod Kumar Etacheri from Spain, and today we have Dr. KP Murali from India. I am honored to introduce today's eminent speaker, Dr. KP Murali. Dr. KP Murali is currently working in the Department of Mechanical Engineering, National Institute of Technology, NIT, Calicut. He completed his MTech and PhD from the Department of Metallurgical Engineering and Material Science, Indian Institute of Technology, Bombay, in the year 2009. He completed his postdoctoral studies from Georgia Institute of Technology, Atlanta, USA, in an Intel-funded project for next-generation mobile antenna materials with Fulbright Fellowship. He had worked as a scientist in the Microwave Materials Division, Center for Materials for Electronics Technology, CMET, Thrissur. He had completed 6 funded projects from different funding agencies like BRNS, ISRO, DST, MIT, etc., and one is ongoing. He holds 2 US patents and 3 Indian patents to his credit. His research works have been published in several international journals with H-index of 14. He has received Kerala State Energy Conservation Award for Research and Development in 1990 and the prestigious Fulbright Fellowship in 2011. Now I request Dr. KP Murali to deliver the lecture. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Gigi, for a nice introduction. Am I audible? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Audible.
Okay. Thank you for the organizing committee for giving me an opportunity to deliver my lecture, especially Dr. Rajesh. Rajesh was with me in CMET when we were doing research work on micro materials. So, shall we start?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm opening the presentation. Video is fine?
So can you tilt the webcam slightly, little bit down? Okay, now. Okay, right.
Yeah, video audio is fine. Am I right?
Oh, right, fine.
Okay, shall I start?
Yes, sir.
So, these works which I am going to present, most of the work was done in when I was in CMET. Recently only I moved to NIT Calicut. So, I have, after my PhD, I have almost 10 years of experience in this area, microwave materials, that is materials which is used for high frequency applications. So in today's talk, I'll try to cover dielectric substrate materials, magnetodielectric materials, microwave absorber materials, and if time permits, resonators also. So outlay of my presentation will be start the presentation with an introduction to microwave materials. And, microwave substrate. What is a microwave substrate? Which is most of you may be knowing as the basic building block of any microwave device. And then magnetodielectric materials. Those materials which exhibit both dielectric as well as magnetic properties. So then advantages of these materials over dielectric materials when you consider microwave substrates as well as absorbers. So next one will be absorbers, how these materials can be effectively utilized in these applications. So microwave absorber, the materials which is used for attenuating electromagnetic energy or absorbing a particular bandwidth of the electromagnetic energy spectrum. And then the last one is dielectric resonators. Resonators are ceramic pucks which can be used for confining electromagnetic energy. So first we go to introduction to microwave materials. What is the significance of these materials in India or in Indian scenario? Because if you consider the entire microwave
Sir,
device,
excuse me, sir, excuse
Yeah.
me. Are
Yeah.
you presenting something now, PPT or something?
Yeah, it is not.
No, it is not. It is not displayed here.
Oh, sorry.
Sir, did you open the PPT?
Yeah, I have opened and started presenting, but as you told, if it is not seen by you, I will again present now. I will go to the present now and take that. Shall I do the entire screen presentation? Like share the entire screen?
Okay. Okay, it's okay.
Is it coming?
No, not so far. Yeah, started.
Oh,
Yes.
actually, I covered a few slides. No problem. Actually, yeah, these are the materials and outlay of my presentation. As I was telling, I will comprise of micro substrates, magnetodielectric materials, which will be applied in micro absorbers and micro substrates. Then, as you know, what is the significance of these materials in Indian scenario? Because if you consider Indian strategic sectors, that means space, defense, and atomic energy sectors, 80% of materials which is being used are imported. And these kind of materials are crucial for our development, especially IT industries. And if we can develop these materials and supply to these strategic sectors, we can save a lot of foreign exchange. And of course, as you know, knowledge is wealth. And creating a knowledge or information base for these materials in our country will give a competitive edge over other developed countries. So that was a basic reason why government has funded a lot of money for these kind of materials. For developing these kind of materials. So main hurdles and the strategies how these materials can be developed in a country like India is because why this has come, because most of these materials are under embargo. And no, if you search for open literatures, you may find only very few, and you can see several patents published by US based companies on this. So what we need to do is reverse engineering. We have the products from them, so get the products, do the reverse engineering, and understand what the materials, and design a process for the materials to be converted into a viable product. So that is the process we adopted. And being a multidisciplinary development work, because as you know, this involves materials, physics, polymer and electronics background persons. So it is a teamwork only will win in this situation. And another one is the most important thing is how we can convert these raw materials into a viable product, because we have to develop a process which is the most critical as far as this micro materials is concerned, because the tolerance available in all the parameters or all the properties are very stringent. So unless you design and develop your own process exclusively for meeting this very stringent tolerance, you will not get succeed in this. So that was the most difficult part we faced while developing these materials. And then we have to start, because we already have products from outside country or a foreign country in the market. So first start developing equivalents, and then go one step ahead by developing a better one, enhanced properties. So that was a strategy which can be adopted for any other material, any other electronic materials. So first we will go to microwave dielectric substrates. As all of you may be knowing, dielectric substrates or microwave substrates are basic building block of any microwave device. Like if you want to make a microwave device, you should have a microwave PCB on which you will design and fabricate the required circuit, and then as per the design engineer's mode of operandi, then you will complete the device fabrication. So unless you have the microwave substrate is the basic starting point or the basic building block of any microwave circuitry. So then you may ask, what is the difference between ordinary PCB and a PCB which is operated at high frequency? Or ordinary PCB, that material part, I am talking about the material part. The material part needs to be just an insulating material, and it has to carry only the passive components on that. Whereas if you take the microwave PCB, the materials which is used for the fabrication of a microwave PCB plays an important role. It's especially electrical properties and secondary properties like thermal and mechanical properties play important role in the performance of the device which is fabricated out of the substrate. So that is a reason why when the frequency increases, material used for the PCB are very important. So we'll see how we can tune the properties, all these properties, electrical, thermal and mechanical properties of a substrate for enhancing the or getting the best performance. So this is a brief introduction of microwave circuit boards. Earlier, actually microwave circuit boards or microwave substrates can be divided into two types: hard substrates and soft substrates. Hard substrates were used earlier, and this is now also it is used in specific applications, which comprises of 100% ceramic material, sintered ceramic body. And whereas a soft substrate comprises of polymer dispersed with ceramic materials or some kind of fillers. If you see the hard substrates, or if you compare the hard substrates as well as soft substrates, there are advantages why soft substrates have been evolved over the period of time, and now it is used extensively over hard substrates. Because we can soft substrates being polymer substrate, polymer composite material, we can fabricate. The processing is much more easier in a bigger size. I'm talking about a fabrication of a bigger size substrate is very easy compared to a hard sintered ceramic body. And it can be used in places where heavy what you can shocks experiences, whereas brittle hard substrates will not be able to withstand such a heavy shock, or where the vibration comes, that ambience will not be able to be withstood by these hard substrates. That is another advantage. Then for almost all hard substrates, either platinum or gold are used as the conducting layer, whereas for soft substrate we can use copper, which is much cheaper. And another very important property is hard substrates being a single ceramic composition, or a alumina or a silica or a beryllia. It's a fixed composition. It has got its own specific or unique electrical properties. Like if you take alumina substrate of 99.6 purity, it has got a dielectric constant of 9.9 or around 9.9, whereas soft substrates, which comprises of a polymer wherein different or various ceramics or various glass fibers are dispersed, we can tune the electrical properties according to the filler, according to the properties of the filler. So these are the advantages of soft substrates compared to hard substrates. So, and if you see, it's as I was telling in the previous slide, it is an item under embargo, and very few manufacturers are available for these kind of high-end substrates. I'm talking about high-end micro substrate, which is used for strategic application. So typical applications of these high-end micro substrates are satellite communication, mobile communication systems, wireless local area networks, GPS, and now we can see that what you can call driverless automobiles are upcoming, like Google or Tesla. They are developing that driverless or auto cars or automobiles, So in that they use sensors, different kinds of sensors. All those sensors, I think it will be working at a frequency of more than 77 gigahertz. So as I think when 5G comes into picture, so there will be lot of applications, because as we know, 5G is not going to be in mobiles only. It will have immense applications in all other areas. It will not confined to mobile phones. That is damn sure. So lot of applications will come for this kind of substrates. So this shows a schematic of a microcircuit on a substrate. As you can see, the design equation for impedance, you can see which relates to the equation has a dielectric constant, and the width and length of the circuit and height of the dielectric part. So when you fabricate a dielectric substrate, its epsilon r and height are very, very important. And other than that, another very important property is low loss. I mean, like loss tangent of the dielectric material. Because as the loss tangent increases, signal will get attenuated. So as far as a substrate is concerned, height is very, very important, and tolerance given, or for design engineers, the tolerance available for the height is, I think, 40 microns. So whatever we develop, the process methodology for the development of these kind of substrate should be able to give a substrate thickness of within this 40 microns. That is very, very important. I will tell each parameters which are critical for these substrates. So hard substrates, some examples are alumina, different percentage, cordierite. Cordierite has advantage of it has got the lowest coefficient of thermal expansion. The thermal expansion is very less. Silica, lowest dielectric constant material. Beryllia and aluminum nitrate has got high thermal conductivity, because compared to other ceramic materials, high thermal conductivity ceramics are this beryllium and aluminum nitrate, so which can be used in circuits where high power is operated. I mean, the circuit which is operated under high power, because lot of high power means lot of heat will be generated, so that if the substrate has high thermal conductivity, the thermal dissipation will be easy. So in that case, these materials can be used. Then important properties as far as a substrate is concerned is stable dielectric constant. A stable dielectric constant with respect to frequency. If you are designing the thermal, I mean, with respect to frequency, its dielectric constant should not change, as well as it should exhibit very, very low loss. Minimum variation of dielectric constant with respect to temperature. That is another very important material, because if your material changes its dielectric constant with respect to temperature, so when the device is taken to a Western country where the temperature is very less, and it is operated at the same, this one is operated at a very high temperature, like Rajasthan or some other place. So because of the variation of the decay or the dielectric constant, property should not get changed. So if decay is varying much, then accordingly we have to introduce some circuit, compensatory circuit. So it is always better to select a material which doesn't have much variation of dielectric constant with respect to temperature. And low moisture absorption. These materials should not absorb moisture, because moisture is absorbed means, as you know, dielectric constant is very high, and as well as more than that, loss is very, very high for water. So that will increase the total dielectric loss. And then thermal expansion. Thermal expansion mainly should match with that of the conducting layer, because when the circuit is under operation, there can be a chance of increasing the temperature. So when the temperature increases, if the expansion of the base substrate as well as the conducting layer are different, there is all the chance that the conducting layer will get peeled off from the base substrate. So it is always better to match the thermal expansion of the material of the base dielectric with that of conducting layer. Now we'll go to move to soft substrates, which is, as I was telling, which is basically a polymer composites. So polymer matrix, what is the criteria of selecting a polymer matrix? for this soft substrate is it should be its dielectric constant should be stable and it should exhibit very low loss and it should be easily processable. So whatever presently available dielectric substrate materials in the market are given in this, like its trade name is Kuflon, RTD-Roids, Altum, Poly, TMM, and the corresponding polymers used for that PTFE. PTFE based substrates are known as RTD-Roids, polyether Altum, polyolefin, poly 1-butadiene is known under the trade name TMM, and epoxy based substrates are known as FR4. If you see, for almost all common applications, I'm not talking about high-end space defense application, very common applications, FR4, which is epoxy based, which is the cheapest substrate is used, but it has got very high loss tangent. It cannot be used for first of all, cannot be used for a high-end application, and if the frequency is beyond 1 gigahertz, it will give a very high loss. So generally, it is useful below 1 gigahertz only. And the fillers are mainly our what you can call the deciding factor, how the electrical property has to be tuned. That will depend on purely the ceramic particulates. So ceramics, as you know, the dielectric properties can vary from very low, like 3.7, which is for silica. Silica, I think, gives a dielectric constant of 3.7, which is the lowest, and very high dielectric constants like TaO2, rutile. Rutile will give nearly 100 or even more than that, strontium titanate or like that, ceramic materials which gives very high dielectric constant. So and another additive or the tertiary component in the this one third component in the composite is reinforcing agent. That is just to control the dimensional stability of the substrate, as well as for imparting the mechanical strength. Just like how we reinforce this RCC concrete with iron bars, microfiber glass or woven cloth is added into this one to reinforce the matrix. So just to scan through the polymer properties, it should have a stable dielectric constant, extremely low loss tangent, superior chemical resistance, high service temperature, because when the circuit is getting operated, it will generate heat, and the matrix has to withstand that temperature. And hydrophobic. It should not be hydrophilic. It should be hydrophobic, and water absorption should be less than 0.05%, and it should be compatible with cheap conductor patterns like copper. You can see with respect to PTFE polymer, polytetrafluoroethylene, known as Teflon. These are the values: 2.1 dielectric constant, 0.001 at 1 gigahertz frequencies, and it is, as you know, PTFE is highly inert, and it can be operated around 200 degrees without any problem, and water absorption is very less. It is compatible with copper. And fillers, so ceramics having very low loss or ultra high Q materials are a stable dielectric constant and phase pure in low temperature. That is very important. Some ceramics will be we will get the pure phase only at the sintering temperature. So it will be a bulk mass which cannot be used for this application. We should get the phase purity in the powder form in order to use as a filler for substrate fabrication. So another thing is we can model the dielectric constant according to how much is the final dielectric property you want. Accordingly, how much volume percentage of filler has to be incorporated in the polymer matrix. There are several models which is based on polarization mechanisms, particle size, etc., etc. So we need not, if you want a effective dielectric constant in the sense effective electrical property dielectric constant of both polymer and volume percentage of filler that is incorporated in the polymer. That without doing the experimental work, we can roughly calculate using this theoretical modeling. Another thing is, then you may ask, what is the difficulty in fabricating a substrate? Just simply put 10% of one ceramic in a polymer, make the sheet kind of a thing, substrate kind of a form, then automatically it's very easy. No, it is not at all easy. You have to consider all these parameters, because simply you cannot add as a random volume fraction into a polymer and make a substrate. Impossible. Because first, see, there is an optimum filler loading in all cases. You just can't add, as I was telling you, just can't add a random volume percentage. There is an optimum filler loading in all matrix, which gives a polymer based ceramic substrates. I mean, micro substrate. So why I will answer the questions. Why? Because there is a coefficient of thermal expansion. If you take any polymer, most of the polymers will have very high thermal expansion compared to that of the copper, which is going to be cladded on the polymer. So unless, as I was telling, unless the temperature, I mean CT is matched, there is all the chance that copper will get peeled off during operation of the device. So in order to match the thermal expansion of the polymer with that of or the polymer composite with that of copper, we have to control the filler volume percentage or fraction in the polymer matrix. So we should fill in, or we should disperse the ceramic inside the polymer matrix to such a level so that we will end up with a CTE which is matching with that of copper or whatever conducting layer you use. That is very important. So there is a restriction in the use of or volume fraction of the ceramic. Next one is moisture absorption. Moisture absorption is related with the porosity. So if you want a very high dielectric constant substrate, you just can't fill very high volume fraction, because once you cross a particular stage, a threshold level, it will create a lot of porosity in the component or the composite, which will lead to moisture absorption and weaker mechanical properties. Its strength will come down. So that is another point where to be taken care. And then thickness control, dielectric thickness control, you have to take care. That I was telling about the restriction in or tolerance in the thickness level area. And poor dimensional stability. Yeah, because dimensional stability means if the this temperature cycle, with respect to temperature cycle, this dimension should not get changed. So that you have to be taken care. Then dielectric anisotropy, which is very important, because if the dispersion of the ceramic in the polymer matrix is not uniform, then each point dielectric property variation, epsilon r loss, will be varying in the same, it will not be homogeneous. So that can create problems when you design a circuit on that, like fringing capacitance. A lot of such problems will come if you don't disperse the ceramic uniformly in the polymer matrix. Then of course depolarization of the filler, because what actually gives the polarization, epsilon r is polarizability of the material. So actually ceramic has got very high dielectric constant compared to polymer. So when polymer encapsulate this ceramics, it is that it is getting depolarized. That is why that depolarization has to be controlled in such a way that because it should not be uniformly, it has to be dispersed. Otherwise, depolarization will be like what I can call depolarization will be different in different parts of the substrate. So that is why for each substrate, for each polymer and the corresponding ceramic filler, there will be a optimum filler loading which you have to find out for getting the substrate with required properties. So as you know, ceramic filler is our intellectual property which we can vary. Glass fiber and polymer, once it is fixed, we can tune the or we can play with the electrical properties or substrate properties using our ceramic filler. And how we can fabricate this? This is a starting point. Starting point is how the filler can be prepared. So filler is a pure, conventional ceramic solid state route preparation. According to the final composition, take the stoichiometric ratio of the raw materials, mix it, dry it, then calcine it at the required temperature, then grind, then do XRD, whether phase has been formed. Otherwise, take to high temperature, grind and take to high temperature. Whatever we usually follow the conventional solid state route. And once the phase purity we obtain, we can, if it is, if the XRD shows the phase purity, we can take it for fabricating or dispersing it in the polymer matrix. So this generally solid state route is followed for the fabrication of our synthesis of ceramic filler. If you want to control the particle size below a certain size, we can go for chemical route also. But generally for these kind of micro substrate and solid state reaction route is more than sufficient. And as you know, most of the ceramics are hydrophilic in nature. It will have a tendency of water to be absorbed. So I have already told you what are the adverse effects if the material absorbs water, high loss tangent, low mechanical strength and all. So we have to prevent or preclude its hydrophilic nature. So how we can preclude the hydrophilic nature? It is done by using saline coating. Saline coating is a process because it can control the interface because in a composite there is an interface between ceramic filler and a polymer. So that property of the interface is very, very important in deciding the final properties of the composite. So how we can make it stronger? This is the way. This is the saline coating is one of the option to make it very stronger. What it does is a saline can be chosen according to the it's actually it acts as a link between the polymer and the filler. It acts as a link between organic material, which is a polymer, and inorganic material, which is ceramic. So if you take any saline for this application, it's the head, we can call it as a head and a tail. The tail will react with it will as shown in the picture, it will react with the OH of the ceramic material, and it will form SiO coating over the ceramic material. So it will become hydrophobic. And the other part, which is phenyl or phenyl or heavy organic structure will make a combination, or will sometimes it will be a it will not react chemically, but it will have some kind of affinity towards the organic material, and it will form a much more conducive interface, or it will make a conducive interface between the inorganic material and the organic material by reacting with the OH group and also with the organic material, the other part. So actually this will improve mechanical strength, it will reduce water absorption, and that way it helps a lot in getting the enhancement in the final properties of the composite. So this is a must. This process is a must. Saline coating of the ceramic is a must for the fabricator before incorporating that into the polymer matrix. So another thing is how we can disperse. Next step is we selected the polymer, we made the ceramics and coated with saline. Now how we can incorporate the ceramic into polymer matrix so that we can address all the properties. The other previous slide I told about all the properties, how we can issues, how we can address all those issues, or how we can get better properties. So for PTFE, for the polymer polytetrafluoroethylene, this is a process we designed. We can see first polymer, ceramic, and reinforcing agent will be mixed in a high shear mixer, sigma mixing, in the presence of a wetting agent, and then we will get a dough like just like a chapati dough. We'll get a dough like stuff which will be extruded into a bread kind of a preform just like this. Then in order to enhance the uniformity of the filler in the PTFE matrix, again we are thinning down. This will have a thickness of whatever extruded, that stuff will have a thickness of 2 to 3 mm, which will be fed in between the nip gap of a calendering machine to a thickness of 100 microns or 80 to 100 microns. So it will be a ceramic composite tape, ceramic polymer composite tape having thickness of 80 to 100 mm. So in that one, after calendering process, after doing a number of passes, we can ensure that this ceramic is uniformly dispersed in the polymer matrix. Then from that tape, we are cutting the final size what we require for the substrate and stacking one over another these tapes, so that we will have a control over the thickness of the dielectric also. Then we go for thermal hot pressing, which is done in a hydraulic press with heating facility. So all these tapes will fuse together, we will get the final dielectric. So this is a calendering machine, this is a tape, and this is a thermal laminating or hot press. So we'll get the fine. So main properties of the dielectric is dielectric constant. We can control the dielectric constant between 2.2 to 14.8. If you see international market, maximum dielectric constant available for the this kind of substrate is only 10.2. We were able to enhance up to 14.8. Those we had patented, US patented also, those specific compositions. And dissipation factor, we can maximum it is available in the market is 0.02 and minimum 0.0012. Thermal coefficient of epsilon r should be minimum. Specific gravity should be minimum, because if it is used in a satellite, the payload has to be minimum. So in that case also, every specific gravity is always preferably to keep minimum. Then moisture absorption less than 0.1%. Thermal conductivity preferably high. Thermal expansion as I was telling, it should match with that of the conducting layer. In the case of copper, it is 18 ppm per degree centigrade. Ultimate tensile strength at approximately 10 megapascal. These are the main properties as far as the dielectric substrate is concerned. So now I will show a case where the effect of particle size, because the filler what you make using the ceramic particulate, what you make using solid state route, its particle size, morphology and distribution has very I mean, like what you can call is its effect on the final properties of the substrate, electrical properties as well as mechanical properties we can see. So because in the case, this is alumina. This is alumina filler having size 0.4, 1.5, 3 and 7 micrometers. And the top one is the filler morphology and size. The bottom one is composite, which is filled in PTFE and the SEM is taken. So this is micrograph for SEM micrographs of filler in the top 4 of different alumina particles and the same particles filled in PTFE. That is the bottom 4 numbers corresponding. So if you compare its electrical density, Low's tangent and electrical dielectric constant, you can see that as the particle size decreases, density also decreases. So because we cannot fill, because if you see, you can see that when you fill 0.4 micrometer alumina, 400 nanometer alumina, we can fill only up to a certain lower volume fraction compared to 7 micron. So we'll get only.
Sir, excuse me.
Yeah.
So there is some problem with the PPT sharing. So can you please once again present, click the present now and share?
Okay.
Okay, sir. Once again, please.
It's coming?
Yes.
It's coming? Okay. So you can see that loss also increases as the particle size of the ceramic filler comes down, as well as dielectric constant also we are getting better dielectric constant when the filler size is above or in microns 2 to 5. So we consider that for these applications the best filler size is about 2 microns, 2 to 5 microns or 2 to 10 microns. And this is nanometer filled PTFE. You can see this, it exhibits very high loss tangent. So this is another reason for
sir, once again, please share the PPT.
Oh. It's okay?
Yes, it's okay now. Okay now, sir. Thank you.
Okay. So what I was telling, nano size fillers, it is better to avoid when you fabricate a micro substrate. Now the characterization technique, just to mention, phase purity of the ceramic filler using XRD, chemical purity using XRF, particle size of the filler because it is very important, dielectric parameters using waveguide cavity perturbation technique, microstructure using SCM, and DSE, DGA for volatile content, melting point, or filler content of the polymers. Then CT using the altimeter or TMA, UTS. Universal testing machine can be used for ultimate tensile strength, moisture absorption using gravimetric method. There is an IPCTM method. So most of them you must be familiar. So TMA, thermomechanical analyzer, it's a picture for CT analysis. UTM, you must be knowing, gain phase analyzer, network analyzer. This is the most important equipment which is used to find out the electrical properties. Network analyzer, this is the cavity perturbation method. For each, there are different waveguides available for a particular brand like S, X, etc. And so which will have, if it is connected with the VNA or a network analyzer, it will have its own resonance modes. When you insert our samples, it will shift, that resonance mode will shift, that shift frequency and its dielectric constant are related. From that we are calculating the dielectric constant of the material, and from the width of the peak we are getting the loss. And this is a micro substrate, dielectric substrate. And another very important is how to clad, because this is most of the plastic, I mean polymer materials are highly inert, so it is very difficult to stick with a metal on it. So there are two techniques which is used. First, we can surface modify the polymer. In the case of PTFE, what we have done is chemical etching we attempted, as well as plasma etching. Chemical etching, what the difficulty what we faced is that chemical etchant what we prepared, it has got very less shelf life. So it is very difficult to keep the etching solution active. So we attempted, we used actually sodium naphthalene complex is used for the chemical etching, and this is a etched and unetched difference. You can see unetched and etched substrate. So once it is etched, what happens is CF2, actually Teflon is CF2. So F is CF bond is broken, the surface, the CF bond is broken, and a surface become active. Once it is etched and the surface become active, it is very difficult, I mean very easy to clad with the copper or metallic layer. Another process is which is industrially accepted plasma etching machine is a RF plasma etching machine. We can generate plasma using different combinations like hydrogen nitrogen or CF4 oxygen mixture, and this surface can be etched. Once the surface is etched, how to test that? Just put a drop of water. In the case of etched sample, it will spread. The other one, it will be just like a because the contact angle is very high. So ultimately, scientifically, we can prove that by measuring the contact angle for the etched samples, contact angle will be less compared to unetched sample. Then how to clad once the surface modified substrate, we can copper, oxygen free copper sheet is available from the market. We can go for vacuum lamination. Take the temperature just above the melting point of the polymer, so that the top and bottom layer of the polymer is getting, or of the substrate is getting melted, and apply pressure with the oxygen free copper sheet, so that it will adhere, or it will get fixed onto the this one dielectric part, so that we will get the final substrate. This is a photo of the final micro substrate. Now this peel strength is the adhesion between the copper with the dielectric is very important, because if it, especially when it is used for high power application, because a lot of power will be generated, a lot of heat will be generated, and there is all the chance that it will get peeled off. So adhesion is very important. So that is why those etching process is also very important. So we used in the production process, what we used is we made a bigger substrate. For each piece, we measured or cut samples from all the sites, measure its dielectric thermal mechanical properties. And the center portion is given for the third party for their application. This is the final product circuit after designing the circuit on a substrate. Now we can on this we can fabricate, or I mean ceramic, I mean microwave devices like patch antenna or power combiners, filters, etc., etc., according to the requirement. So in this case, with the as I was telling, we were able to enhance the dielectric constant from 10.2 to 14.8 as shown in the chart. So what is the advantage of increasing the dielectric constant? We can, when you make a antenna, we can reduce the size, we can miniaturize. So almost 32%, 31% we can miniaturize using since the dielectric constant has increased. Now we'll move to another new topic like magnetodielectric substrates. It's nothing. It's what you can call, whatever we have talked till now is dielectric substrate which exhibits electrical properties. This will exhibit magnetic properties also. So materials has to be chosen in such a way that it will exhibit epsilon r as well as mu r. So permittivity as well as permeability. So advantage I will tell why we are going for these kind of MD. It is in short form MD substrate, because this will give more miniaturization. That is one of the advantage without affecting other parameters. That is very, very important. I will tell how it is done. And these are the applications: remote control, all low frequency applications it will do. I will tell why it is applied only in low frequency. So magnetodielectric materials, the advantage is because as far as dielectric material is concerned, it will have epsilon r value, and mu will be, being a non-magnetic material, mu is considered as 1. Whereas in this case, for any electromagnetic circuit, miniaturization factor is root of epsilon r mu r. And bandwidth, so if mu r can be given, some value can be given, more miniaturization is possible. And bandwidth, just see, bandwidth is proportional to root of mu r plus epsilon r. So usually when we use a high dielectric material, its bandwidth will come down. So if it is exhibiting mu r also, its bandwidth can be enhanced. Similarly for impedance matching, easy impedance matching can be done. And also for radiation efficiency, if the material exhibits mu r, it will have better radiation efficiency. So compared to dielectric material, magnetodielectric will give these advantages. So just get a feel for how much it is advantageous. Just see the table, the first and second, compare the first and second rows, then you will see the advantage. Like if you see compare the last 2 rows, if you take a dielectric substrate 16, having dielectric constant 60, so it's epsilon r and mu r, you can see 16 and 1, because it's a dielectric, so mu r is 1. Whereas the same thing, if you take a magnetodielectric substrate having 4 and 4, 4 epsilon r and 4 mu r, you will get the same miniaturization. But see the last column, enhancement in bandwidth, it is almost 4 times. 4 times enhancement in bandwidth can be seen. So that is advantage if you use magnetodielectric substrates in place of dielectric substrates. So then I will give you how magnetodielectric materials, what are the advantages and disadvantages. If you take any magnetic materials, you can see that this is a graph which gives frequency versus permeability or loss. So there will be a domain wall loss and a ferromagnetic resonance. So since these phenomena are there, we cannot use a magnetodielectric material beyond this frequency. We will tell you how we can enhance the frequency of usage, or how we can push these resonances beyond our requirement, so that our usage frequency can be enhanced. So for the materials for substrate applications, should have low electric and magnetic loss, high FMR, uh, and disadvantages of different materials are, if you take metal, it will have low FMR, high eddy current loss, high loss tangent, and high density. If you go for spinel ferrites, nickel zinc ferrite or something like that, it will have operating frequency less than 100 megahertz, high density and high loss above 100 megahertz. So it can be used below that range only, in megahertz, very few megahertz range only. And garnets and hexaferites, it will, although it will show very high FMR, ferromagnetic resonance, but electrical loss and density are high. So what we are proposing is composite polymer, wherein these fillers are filled in the. So what are the advantages? It will give high resistivity. So high resistivity means low electrical loss and high frequency stability you will get. And high frequency stability, high FMR we will get. And tunable properties, we can tune the properties using or by making anisotropic structure. Magnetically anisotropic structure we will make, so that we can push again the FMR to high frequency. And we can play with the particle size. That is also, and being a composite, it is very easily, it can be processed. So first set of materials which is proposed for this is metal polymer nanocomposites. Metal, a core will be metal, and there will be an oxide layer, and that core shell structure will be incorporated in a polymer matrix. So we will have high permeability and suppressed coercivity from exchange coupling between the particles. So we have to control the particle size, because it's a simple metal like cobalt or nickel or iron having very thin oxide layer, so that when it is filled to a threshold level, we will have, if the particle size is so less, we can expect exchange coupling, and which will enhance the permeability and reduce the loss. And another one is, since this core has a oxide coating and a polymer encapsulation, resistivity is very high, and it can reduce the loss. And high saturation magnetization we will get from high filler fraction, filler volume fraction. And we can create frequency stability by fabricating magnetic anisotropic structure. That also I will explain how we can make. So these are the comparisons of the metal, I mean different materials with the frequency. So as you can see, nanoscale magnetics will give the better frequency stability compared to others. So how it is possible? First, these are the materials which can be taken for these applications at different frequencies. How to enhance the frequency stability and reduce the loss. These are the strategies we can take. First, reduce the particle size to below the single domain size, because for once you reduce the particle size below the single domain lines, there won't be any domain resonance. And reduce the particle size to a level so that is exchange coupling will increase. So that can enhance EMS, saturation magnetization, as well as initial mu. And finally, in order to further enhance the frequency stability, we can go for anisotropic structure fabrication. Anisotropic structure fabrication, I will tell how it is made. Because while we are making the composite in a die with heating, thermolamination, that process, when that thermolamination or hot pressing is done, we can uh, that entire process can be done in a magnetic field, just as shown in the picture. So what happens? It will increase the that field will enhance the or change of the easy axis of magnetization to hard axis, and it will impart more mu, because even after removing the magnetic field, it will retains some orientation, so that it will enhance the initial permeability compared to a random orientation. So one with the this is called introducing anisotropy in the composite. So field orientation will enhance the field alignment will enhance the oriented particles in the composite, which will enhance the mu permeability of the. So in this way, we can enhance the frequency stability as well as the starting initial mu of the material. And since it is incorporated in a highly insulating polymer, electrical loss will be very less. So we will have all the required components or properties like high mu r, high dielectric constant, low loss. So we can fabricate or make a magnetodielectric substrates. So the problem is still FMR cannot be pushed beyond a gigahertz range. It is very difficult. So research is going on to push the FMR and the usable frequency range below 3 gigahertz. So once the FMR is pushed below 5 gigahertz, almost all applications, whatever commercial applications, this can be used, like wireless communication, all those things. So that is a major research which is going on in this area. So at present, it is, I think, a usable frequency has been pushed up to 1 gigahertz only, and these are the applications like NFC, near field communication or far field communication antennas, radio, VHF, UHF communication, radio communication, etc., etc. All you can see that it is in the range of 600 megahertz, 500 megahertz, that range only, or even less. And another very important use is the medical telemetry or hyperthermia applications. Just like this, if we can make a MD substrate, magnetodielectric substrate, which gives much better what you can call miniaturization compared to dielectric substrates. So if you want to implant in your body, a biocompatible substrate can be made. All the materials which is used for the fabrication can be made, can be converted or can be developed in the biocompatible materials, and it can be implemented in the body for different applications like hyperthermia and medical telemetry. So this is one of the applications. This is a regular glucose monitoring, live glucose monitoring system, where this whatever you are seeing on the right side is implanted inside the skin, which will give the data to outside antenna. Both these antennas can be designed on the micro substrate, MD substrates. So we can miniaturize, and whatever implanted, the size will be very less and efficiency will be very high.
Sir, excuse me. Yeah. Somebody has tried to present, and so that your PowerPoint is now not visible in Google streaming. Sir, can you once again present it?
Okay. Okay.
Again somebody tried. So please, please, all of you, please participate. Yes, it's now okay, sir. Participants, please do not try to present.
Yeah, I'll complete in 5 minutes because already I think it is running late. So another area is microwave absorbers, where this magnetodielectric materials are extensively used. Microwave absorbers are materials that attenuate the energy in a electromagnetic wave. So where are the applications? A lot of applications are there. It is to eliminate unwanted radiation that could interfere with the system's operation, EMI shielding, or some it can be used externally as well as internally. Externally to reduce the reflection from or transmission to a particular object, or internally to reduce oscillations caused by cavity resonance. Because if you take a microwave circuit first, and in order to convert that into a device, first the case is made, a circuit is made, it is put in the case one, and that is to be enclosed in a so when it is getting enclosed, spurious signals or resonance, unwanted resonance will come into play. So that has to be removed. Unless that is removed, that will affect adversely or the performance of the device. So this is used for all that. And another main application is stealth and the radar cross section, reducing the radar cross section. So these are the different types of this one free space absorbers. In the free space absorbers are two types. It is narrowband and broadband. That is mainly reflectivity absorbers, actually to reduce the reflection, because when the microwave or the electromagnetic wave is hitting on the surface, and if it is reflected back to the radar, then only it will identify. So it is maximum reduce the reflection, and there are two types in that. One is narrowband and broadband. Another one is enclosed space absorbers that I was explaining for cavity resonance absorption. So a good absorber would have low reflectivity, less than 15 dB, wide frequency range. It just absorb electromagnetic frequency of wide range. It should be light in weight, mechanically stable, because with respect to weather conditions, it should not get deteriorate. Then it should be cheap and easy to fix, easy to deposit and fix. So those are the properties required for a good absorber. And principle, there are 2-3 principles by which different absorbers are working. First one is this what is seen in the what is seen in the picture. Electromagnetic wave comes and impinges on the first air or the medium, the dielectric or the material which is given black, and it passes depending on the impedance match. It goes into the material, and there is a back plate which is ground plate which is metal, and from there it gets reflected. So there are several mechanisms happening in this. Either the material which is that absorbing material which is given black, if it is highly lossy, like high electrical and magnetic loss material, it will absorb that. The material will absorb it will get attenuated because of the loss. Electromagnetic wave will get attenuated while it is passing through that. Another thing is the thickness of the material can be made in such a way that it's the reflections are 180 degree out of phase with the incoming wave, so that it will get annulled, cancelled each other. That is another method. So these are the basic principles by which absorbers are working. So it is actually applications I was telling: stealth, EMI shielding, anechoic chamber, etc. So in the market you can get both dielectric as well as magnetic materials for these applications. So as you can see, attenuation, the formula is given. You can see if you use a magnetodielectric material, which will have very high efficiency because it exhibits both epsilon prime as well as mu prime, which are greater than 1, and very high losses, which heavily absorbs electromagnetic radiation. And only for lesser thickness is required compared to a dielectric material. Magnetodielectric requires only lesser thickness for the same absorption, and better impedance matching, as I was telling the previous case, and fine control over the operating frequency, because we can control the resonance frequency to the required frequency range where it is getting fully absorbed. So by adjusting the as I previous slides I was explaining how FMR can be controlled using FMR can be controlled using size as well as that field orientation. So those tricks can be used here also to control the absorption frequency range. So that's all. I think I have taken more time. Sorry. So any questions or anything is you can.
Sir, thank you, sir. Thanks for your nice presentation. And we have some questions from the participants. And sir, one question is, how you measured the dielectric loss of the material?
Actually, dielectric loss, we usually after fabricating the dielectric substrate, 1 megahertz we are making. We were measuring using this gain phase analyzer using the parallel plate capacitance technique, and high frequency we are measuring using vector network analyzer with the waveguide.
Okay. Sir, another question is how isotropic. I think he wants to know about the XY plane, or how isotropic the dielectric properties across these substrate material, and how did you measure it?
Actually, as I was telling, anisotropy should not be allowed. Anisotropy in the sense, whatever you asked is X, Y, and Z direction. Am I right?
Yeah.
What I meant while explaining that, if you fabricate a 6 by 6 inch substrate, if the uniformity of the filler distribution in different parts are different, means you will get different capacitance, and that will lead to fringing capacitance. Whatever you are asking is epsilon r in XY direction and what epsilon r in Z direction, whether it is different, right?
Yeah.
So only thing is we have to cut the sample as per that, according to the direction in which it has to be measured, and electroding has to be done in that direction only. Like that only the result.
Sir, thank you, sir. Sir, another question. You have mentioned about the anisotropy in magnetodielectrics, right? So you apply some magnets while fabricating the material.
Yes.
How you ensure this? This is a kind of clustering of the particulates at some areas, or something like that. What you're doing?
No, actually, this fabrication is first synthesize the filler, and the polymer is epoxy. So in the epoxy, filler is finely distributed, and before curing, we are applying a magnetic field, so that the magnetization we will get a high saturation magnetization because of the coercivity, because of the change in magnetic axis from EC axis to hard axis, and that is a so that is procedure. So even after taking the magnetic field, we will have some high initial permeability, which can be used for this application.
So do you make some measurements or something like that to ensure that this is anisotropic in that sense?
Yeah, without field, we can see if you measure the permeability, we can see the enhancement.
Okay. Sir, these are the questions from the participants, but I have one question from my side. Can you tell the story to commercialize a product from a laboratory research? I think that will be useful for our young researchers who are working in the lab. So how to take up a lab research to a commercially viable product?
That is the most difficult thing in Indian scenario, I feel, because first an industry has to show faith in us. So the best thing is when you start developing a product, approach an industry who has their product line matching with this, or somewhat matching with your developed product. So, and whenever you start the research, you make that company also a part of the project, like somehow by giving the samples or by, and while the project is going on, keep on interacting with this industry and build a faith in this industry parallelly when you go on, so that continue this until they will have a faith that whatever you produced will work and or can be enhanced or augmented to a production level. And you should have a first phase, second phase, like that. When you plan for a product, first level should be lab level, as you know. It should be lab level development, and simultaneously, as soon as this is over or just before that can overlap, or the second year or third year of the project, you should aim for a augmented or semi production level type of project, wherein you should be able to demonstrate the industry that we are capable of developing, producing this many numbers or this many some whatever, depending on your developed product, this many with stringent quality control, like within the tolerance limit of all the properties which is coming, whatever we targeted should be within the targeted limit. So if that can be shown, then industry will have faith and they will be ready to take up technology. That is my idea. Advice.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thanks for answering the questions, sir. Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you.
Now I invite Dr. Annamma John, Associate Professor of the Department of Physics, Mar Ivanios College, to propose the vote of thanks and also for the concluding remarks.
Good evening. For the last 1 hour and slightly beyond, we have been listening to the distinguished speaker, Dr. K.P. Murali. He has taken us through the different aspects of microwave materials, focusing mainly on their applications. The applications he has chosen were microwave substrates, magnetodielectric substrates, and microwave absorbers. Starting from the basics, like the importance of microwave PCBs, he has taught us about the hard and soft substrate, the materials used, their important properties, and also the modeling methods. How miniaturization is possible for antennas using MD materials, its applications in substrates, and finally, the basic principles of microwave absorbers. Sir, you have given a very informative lecture on the topic. We all are happy and grateful to you. On behalf of Mar Ivanios College, Department of Physics, and all the participants of the webinar, I express our sincere gratitude and affection to you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Let me take this opportunity to thank all the speakers of the webinar. We had with us Professor Rajan Jose from University of Malaysia, Pahang, who enriched us with smart sustainability, renewable materials, big data, circular economy nexus. Dr. Vinod Kumar Etacheri from Madrid Institute of Advanced Studies with semiconductor photocatalysis, its advances and applications. Dr. K.P. Murali from National Institute of Technology, Calicut, India, with microwave materials and their applications. On behalf of Marivanis College Department of Physics and all the participants, I extend a heartfelt gratitude to all the three speakers for sparing their valuable time for us and for sharing their valuable knowledge with us. Thank you, professors. Dear participants, both on the interactive Google Meet and live streaming platforms, you are a great support. It has been a pleasure to have you all with us these 3 days. Sitting at the different parts of the world, we have been listening to the recent advances in functional materials. Hope that the lecture series have benefited you all very much. On behalf of the Department of Physics, Marivanis College, I extend a sincere thanks to you all. Thank you very much for your support and cooperation. At this moment, let me thank the chief patron, His Beatitude Vesalius Cardinal Climis Catholicos, and the principal of the college, Dr. K.I. Georgi, for their support and encouragement. I thank the head of the department, Dr. Jijimoon K. Thomas, organizing secretary, Dr. Rajesh S., and all the faculty members for working shoulder to shoulder towards the grand success of the seminar. The feedback forms will be posted immediately to your email IDs. Please submit the completed form soon. The certificates will be issued only after the successful submission of the feedback forms. So please follow the instructions provided along with the form. Dear members, let us conclude the webinar on advances in functional materials for the year 2020. We will meet again with such events. Take care, stay safe and blessed. Thank you.
സാറേ.
രാജൻ, ഹലോ.
സാറേ കേൾക്കാം.
ജോണേ, എല്ലാം നല്ല ഭംഗിയായിരുന്നു അല്ലേ? എല്ലാരും
അതെ, കുഴപ്പമില്ല. അതെ അതെ,
എല്ലാം നല്ല ഭംഗിയായിരുന്നു. ഇടയ്ക്ക് മറ്റേ എല്ലാരും ഇറങ്ങിയല്ലേ അല്ലേ? നമ്മൾ 3 പേരല്ലേ ഉള്ളൂ?
അത്രേ ഉള്ളൂ.
ഒരു തമിഴ്നാട്ടിൽ നിന്നുള്ള 2-3 പേരാണെന്ന് തോന്നേ. എന്തൊക്കെയാ ചാറ്റ് ബോക്സിനകത്തെ എന്തൊക്കെയോ സംഭവങ്ങളൊക്കെ എഴുതുന്നത്. രാജേഷ്
തമിഴ്നാട്ടിൽ നിന്നുള്ള എന്തോ അറുമുഖനോ അവര് കുറെ കക്ഷികൾ
മലയാളത്തിലേക്ക് അബ്യൂസീവ് അല്ല, ഒരു നമ്മുടെ
ചേർന്നല്ലാത്തൊരു കുറെ കാര്യങ്ങൾ. പക്ഷെ അവനെ ഒന്ന് പ്രാവശ്യം എടുത്ത് കളഞ്ഞു സാറേ, അവൻ വീണ്ടും കയറി വന്നതാ.
പിന്നെ ജോണ പറഞ്ഞ പോലെ അവര് ആരാണ്ട് പ്രസന്റേഷൻ മോഡിൽ പോയി അല്ലേ?
അതെ, ഇടയ്ക്ക് 1-2 തവണ ഒരാൾ തന്നെയാണെന്ന് പറയുന്നു. എനിക്കത് ആളെ ഐഡന്റിഫൈ ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റിയില്ലായിരുന്നു. പക്ഷെ എന്നോട് വേറെ മെസ്സേജസ് ഇട്ടിരുന്നു, ഇന്ന ആളാണ് പ്രശ്നമെന്ന്. നമ്മുടെ ജോയലൊക്കെ TDC ഇപ്പൊ പഠിച്ചിരുന്ന ജോയൽ പറഞ്ഞു ഇന്ന ആളാണ് പ്രശ്നമെന്ന്. അതുപോലെ മാത്യുവും പറഞ്ഞു ഇന്ന ആളിന്റെ പ്രശ്നം ഉണ്ടെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു. അങ്ങനെ അയാളെ റിമൂവ് ചെയ്തു.
അല്ല, അപ്പൊ നമ്മളെ സർട്ടിഫിക്കറ്റ് കൊടുക്കുമ്പോ അങ്ങനെയൊക്കെ ഉള്ളവരെ നമ്മളൊന്ന് നോക്കണേ. എടുക്കണ്ടെന്നല്ല, എന്തെങ്കിലും ഒരു മെസ്സേജ് അവന് കൊടുക്കണം.
അത് ശരിയാ.
ഇത്രയും ഇന്റർനാഷണലി ഓപ്പറേറ്റ് ചെയ്യാകുമ്പോൾ ലോകത്തിന്റെ പല ഭാഗത്തിരുന്ന ആൾക്കാർ വീക്ഷിക്കുന്നതല്ലേ. നമ്മളെ അവരെ ആ രീതി കാണരുത്. അത് വേണേ നമുക്ക് സൂചിപ്പിക്കാം, ആളെ ട്രേസ് ചെയ്യാൻ മതി. ഒരു 3-4 പേരേ ഉള്ളു അങ്ങനെ.
1-2 പേരേ ഉള്ളൂ സാറേ. എനിക്ക് തോന്നുന്നു സാറേ അത് ഒരെണ്ണം ഒരു പയ്യനാന്ന് തോന്നുന്നു, സ്റ്റുഡന്റ് ആവും. എന്റെ സംസാര ശൈലി
റിനോജ് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞൊരു പയ്യനാണ്. അവനാണ് ഒരു സ്റ്റുഡന്റ് ആണ് അവന്റെ സംസാരത്തിൽ നിന്ന്. പക്ഷെ മറ്റവര് റിസർച്ചേഴ്സ് ആണെന്ന് തോന്നുന്നു.
മറ്റൊരു റിസർച്ചേഴ്സ് ആണ്. അയാൾ PhD ഒക്കെ ഉള്ള ആളാണ് ഈ പ്രസന്റ് ചെയ്ത ആള്, അറുമുഖൻ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ ആള്. അതെനിക്ക്
അറിയാതെ പറ്റിയതായിരിക്കാം.
അത് അറിയാൻ വയ്യാത്തോണ്ടാണോന്ന് അറിയത്തില്ല കേട്ടോ. കാരണം ചിലപ്പോ പുള്ളിക്ക് അത് കയറാൻ നേരത്ത് ക്ലിക്ക് ചെയ്തപ്പോഴത്തേന് ഇങ്ങനെ വരുന്നതാണോന്ന് അറിയത്തില്ല. കാരണം അയാളുടെ ഡീറ്റെയിൽസ് എഴുതിയിരിക്കുന്ന ഏതോ യൂണിവേഴ്സിറ്റിയിലെ ഡോക്ടറേറ്റ് ഒക്കെ ഉള്ള ആളാണെന്നാണ് എഴുതിയിരിക്കുന്നത്. അയാളുടെ കാണിക്കുമ്പോഴത്തേനും
ഈ ചാറ്റൊക്കെ ഇപ്പൊ തന്നെ ഡിലീറ്റ് ആയി പോകും ഇവരെല്ലാം പോകുമ്പോഴത്തേക്ക്.
അല്ല, ചാറ്റ് ഇവിടെ സേവ് ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ട്. ഞാൻ
സേവ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. അപ്പൊ അതിനകത്ത് നോക്കിയാൽ അറിയാം, ഈ എഴുതിയിരിക്കുന്നതിനകത്ത് എന്തെങ്കിലും അങ്ങനെ ഉണ്ടെങ്കിൽ അവരെ നമ്മളൊന്ന് അറിയിക്കണം. അവർക്ക് നല്ലതാണ്. ഇനി ഫ്യൂച്ചറിലാണെങ്കിലും ഒരു
അല്ല, ഈ റിനോജ് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ പുള്ളിയാണ് സാറേ നമുക്കൊരു എന്താ പറയുന്ന ഒരു റിനോജ് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞിട്ടാ പയ്യന്റെ പേര്. മറ്റേത് എനിക്ക് തോന്നുന്ന പുള്ളിക്ക് അറിയാൻ വയ്യാത്തോണ്ടാ. പുള്ളി വീണ്ടും രക്ഷപ്പെടാൻ വേണ്ടി ക്ലിക്ക് ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ വീണ്ടും പ്രസന്റേഷൻ പോവാണ്.
അത് പോട്ടെ, നമുക്ക് ഒഴിവാക്കാം. ഈ എഴുതിയവന്മാര് ചുമ്മാ എഴുതിയല്ലോ, മനഃപൂർവ്വം ചുമ്മാ.
അതെ, അത് ചുമ്മാ തമാശക്ക് ഇരുന്ന് എഴുതുന്ന അതിന്റെ ഒരു സീരിയസ്നെസ് ഇല്ലാതിരുന്ന് എഴുതുന്നതാണ്.
തമാശക്ക് എഴുതേണ്ട സ്ഥലമല്ലല്ലോ ഇത്.
അതെ.
അപ്പൊ ഏതായാലും നമ്മുടെ എല്ലാം വളരെ ഭംഗിയായിരുന്നു. 3 ദിവസം വളരെ ഭംഗിയായി. നിങ്ങളെല്ലാവരും വളരെ സിൻസിയറായിട്ട് ആത്മാർത്ഥമായിട്ട് അതിനകത്ത് ജോണും രാജേഷും മാത്യു എല്ലാവരും വളരെ ഭംഗിയായിട്ട് ചെയ്തു.
ടിങ്കിൾ സാറൊക്കെ നല്ല എഫേർട്ട് എടുത്തു.
അതെ, ടിങ്കിളൊക്കെ നല്ല എഫേർട്ട് എടുത്തു. പിന്നെ ജിജി എല്ലാം നടന്നു. അടുത്ത ആഴ്ച ഒരു ഹൈറ്റി വല്ലതും നടത്താം.
ഒരു ലഞ്ച് അറേഞ്ച് ചെയ്ത് സാറേ. അടുത്ത ആഴ്ചയില് ഒരു ലഞ്ച് അറേഞ്ച് ചെയ്യണം സാറേ. നമ്മള് സൺഡേയും സാറ്റർഡേയും ഒക്കെ തന്നെ വർക്ക് ചെയ്തതല്ലേ.
ലോകം മുഴുവൻ എത്തിച്ചു കഴിഞ്ഞു അല്ലേ സാറേ?
പിന്നെ കോളേജിന്റെ ഡിപ്പാർട്ട്മെന്റിന്റെ എല്ലാം
അല്ല, നമുക്കൊരു 6-7 രാജ്യങ്ങളിൽ തന്നെ പാർട്ടിസിപ്പൻസ് ലോഗിൻ ചെയ്തായിരുന്നു. ഇന്നലെയും അവർ കാണാൻ കയറി.
അതെ. ഞാൻ രാവിലെ അന്നമ്മ ഇത് അയച്ചപ്പോ ഞാൻ അന്നമ്മയോട് പറഞ്ഞായിരുന്നു, ഇന്റർനാഷണൽ വെബിനാർ ഓൺ അഡ്വാൻസ് ഫങ്ഷണൽ മെറ്റീരിയൽസ് 2020 ഇടാൻ പറഞ്ഞായിരുന്നു. അടുത്ത വർഷം നമുക്ക് വേണമെങ്കിൽ ഇത് റിപ്പീറ്റ് ചെയ്യാം. അപ്പൊ ഇതൊരു കണ്ടിന്യൂസ് ആയിട്ട് ഇങ്ങനെ പോയാല് നല്ലൊരു നിങ്ങളൊക്കെ ഉള്ളിടത്തോളം കാലം ഇത് കണ്ടിന്യൂ ചെയ്ത് പോകാം. അപ്പൊ അതുകൊണ്ട് ഇട്ടു. ഇനി അടുത്ത വർഷം അത് നമുക്ക് സെക്കൻഡ് ഇന്റർനാഷണൽ വെബിനാർ എല്ലാം സ്ലൈറ്റ് ആയിട്ട് പേരൊക്കെ അട്രാക്റ്റീവ് ഒക്കെ ആക്കി വേണമെങ്കിൽ പ്ലാൻ ചെയ്യാം. തുടക്കമായിട്ട് വിചാരിച്ചു. അപ്പൊ അങ്ങനെ ശരി. എന്നാ
ബാക്കി എല്ലാരും പോയതുകൊണ്ട് എല്ലാരും ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നെങ്കിൽ അവരെ ജോയിൻ ചെയ്യാൻ പറയട്ടോ. അവരോട് ജോയിൻ ചെയ്യാൻ പറയട്ടോ.
ഒരു റിവ്യൂ മീറ്റിംഗ് നടത്തായിരുന്നു സാറേ ഇതിന്റെ.
എല്ലാരും കേറാൻ പറ്റുമോ എങ്ങനെ അറിയാം?
ഒരു 10 മിനിറ്റ്. ഞാൻ വിളിച്ചു നോക്കട്ടെ.
പക്ഷെ എനിക്ക് തോന്നുന്നു ഇന്നത്തെ സാറ് ആദ്യത്തെ കാര്യങ്ങളൊക്കെ പുള്ളിയില്ല പിള്ളേരെ പഠിപ്പിക്കുന്ന ഇരുന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ്
പക്ഷെ കൊള്ളാറുണ്ട്, നമുക്ക് നമ്മുടെ ഒരു കമ്മ്യൂണിറ്റിക്ക് അത് ഇഷ്ടപ്പെടും.
അവസാനം വന്നപ്പോൾ പുള്ളി ഇത്തിരി ഫാസ്റ്റ് ആയി പോയി. ടൈമിന്റെ ഒരു പ്രശ്നം വന്നു.
പിന്നെ രാത്രി കാര്യം വെച്ചാൽ നമുക്ക് ഇതിനെ പറ്റി കുറച്ച് അറിയാവുന്നതുകൊണ്ട് ഒരു ഇൻട്രസ്റ്റ് ഉണ്ട്. കൊള്ളാം, നല്ല ടോക്കാണ്, വളരെ ലളിതമായിട്ട്
സിമ്പിളായിട്ടാ പുള്ളി പറയുന്ന കാര്യം.
വളരെ സബ്ജക്ട് ഡെപ്ത് ഉള്ള ആളാണ്
പുള്ളി. മെക്കാനിക്കൽ എഞ്ചിനീയർ ആണ് ബേസിക്കലി. തൃശ്ശൂർ എഞ്ചിനീയറിംഗ് കോളേജ് മെക്കാനിക്കൽ എഞ്ചിനീയറിംഗ് കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് നമ്മുടെ കൂട്ടത്തിൽ വന്ന ആളാണ്. മാത്യു തിരിച്ച് ജോയിൻ ചെയ്യൂ, നമുക്കൊരു റിവ്യൂ മീറ്റിംഗ് നടത്താം. സാറ് പറയുന്നു തിരിച്ച് ലിങ്കിൽ ജോയിൻ ചെയ്യൂ. ഓക്കെ ശരി.
തിരക്കാണോ?
ഇല്ല അതാ വരുന്നു. അപ്പം പുള്ളിയാണ് ശരിക്കും ഞങ്ങള് ഈ സാധനങ്ങൾ ചെയ്ത സമയത്ത് ഈ ഫാബ്രിക്കേഷന്റെ സപ്പോർട്ട്. കാരണം പുള്ളിയുടെ ഒരു ധൈര്യത്തിലാണ്. പുള്ളി നല്ലൊരു എഞ്ചിനീയർ ആണ് ശരി. അപ്പൊ നമ്മുടെ പ്രസ്സുകളായാലും നമുക്ക് വേണ്ട ഡൈ ആയാലും ഈ പറഞ്ഞ ഇൻസ്ട്രുമെന്റേഷന്റെ സൈഡെല്ലാം പുള്ളിയാ കൺട്രോൾ ചെയ്യും. പക്ഷെ എന്നിട്ട് പുള്ളി ആ സമയത്ത് തന്നെ IIT PhD ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു. അജിത് കുൽക്കർണിയുടെ അടുത്ത് PhD ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ടായിരുന്നു. അപ്പൊ അത് കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് പുള്ളിക്ക് തൃശ്ശൂർ വിട്ടു പോകാനായിട്ടൊരു മടിയാ, ഭയങ്കര മെടുക്കണം. അപ്പൊ തൃശ്ശൂർ വിട്ട് പുള്ളി എങ്ങോട്ടും പോകില്ല എന്നുള്ള ഒരു അങ്ങനെ. പിന്നെ പുള്ളി അങ്ങോട്ട് ദൂരെ എങ്ങോട്ടൊന്നും പോയില്ല. പക്ഷെ ഇപ്പൊ ഈ കഴിഞ്ഞ വർഷമാണ് പുള്ളി NIT ജോയിൻ ചെയ്തത്. സയന്റിസ്റ്റ് ആയിരുന്നു.
രതീഷ് ഉള്ളപ്പോ അവിടെ ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു.
ഉണ്ട് രതീഷ് സാർ ഉള്ളപ്പോ അവിടെ ഉള്ള ആളാണ്.
അപ്പൊ ഏതായാലും എല്ലാരും മാത്യു ജിജി എല്ലാരും അല്ല നമ്മളെല്ലാരും നമ്മുടെ ഇതിനെ പറ്റി ഒരു ഇവാലുവേഷൻ ബ്രീഫായിട്ട് നടത്താമെന്ന് വിചാരിച്ചേ.
ഈ മീറ്റിംഗ് സ്ട്രീം ചെയ്യുകയാണോ? സ്ട്രീമിൽ കിടക്കുകയാണോ? വേറെ മീറ്റിംഗ് അല്ലേ ജോൺ സാർ? സ്ട്രീമിൽ കിടക്കുകയല്ലേ?
അതെ സ്ട്രീമിലാണ്.